Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
And then there's forgiveness. And I want to be really clear about this because it's often misunderstood. So many people think forgiveness means reconciliation. They think forgiveness means letting the person who hurt you back into your life or pretending the pain didn't happen. And that's not true. Forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. When we carry anger, resentment, or bitterness towards someone who has hurt us, it's like holding on to a hot coal and expecting the other person to get burned. But the truth is, it's your hand that gets scorched. Toxic relationships leave scars, and when we don't forgive, those scars fester. They keep us tied to the very person who hurt us because our emotions are still being dictated by their actions. Forgiveness is a radical act of self-liberation. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean excusing behavior. It doesn't even mean you have to tell them you forgive them. It means saying to yourself, I will not let this pain define me. I will not let this betrayal dictate how I feel about myself or my life. I will reclaim my heart. And here's the hard part. Forgiveness takes time. Some days you might feel it, and other days, the rage or sadness might come rushing back. That's okay. Healing is not linear. Forgiveness is not a single moment. It's a daily practice. It's choosing over and over again to release the emotional grip someone else has on you. When you forgive, you create space. Space to breathe, space to love yourself, space to dream again. You're no longer a hostage to the past. You're no longer defined by their inability to treat you with respect, kindness, or decency. And in that space, you start to feel something you might have forgotten exists: freedom. Because freedom doesn't mean erasing the pain. It doesn't mean pretending the relationship didn't happen. Freedom is about taking back your life, heart, mind, and soul from someone who tried to control it through hurt and manipulation. And that is one of the most courageous things you can do. Forgiveness also allows you to see yourself differently. It reminds you that your worth isn't determined by the way others have treated you. It reminds you that your heart is resilient even after being broken. And slowly, as you practice forgiveness, you notice a shift. The anger softens, the pain still whispers, but it no longer controls you. So forgive, not for them, but for you. Forgive so you can finally step into the life you were meant to live, a life unchained from the mistakes, cruelty, or selfishness of someone else. Forgiveness is your declaration that you are choosing peace, love, and your own freedom over bitterness and captivity. And one day, you'll realize that forgiving didn't make you weak. It made you unstoppable. And finally, there's the most beautiful part of healing: falling in love with freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from leaving someone, but the kind that comes from finally finding yourself again. That moment when you wake up and realize you don't miss the chaos anymore, that you don't crave their attention, that you don't need anyone else to validate your worth. That is freedom. And it is intoxicating in the quietest, most profound way. Because freedom after toxicity isn't loud. It's not fireworks or confetti. It's the soft, steady rhythm of your own heartbeat that you finally get to listen to. It's the peace that comes from knowing you are safe in your own skin. You've built walls of protection, yes, but more than that, you've built a home inside yourself where love, respect, and joy are never optional. Falling in love with freedom means reclaiming the little things that remind you of who you are. It's sipping your coffee in the morning without guilt. It's laughing out loud without fear of judgment. It's picking up a hobby, a book, a dream that you abandoned because you didn't feel or allowed to have it. It's allowing yourself to feel fully, to live fully, without anyone else's toxicity weighing you down. And here's the subtle miracle of it all. The more you fall in love with freedom, the less space there is for fear, for doubt, for insecurity. You begin to notice the difference between relationships that nourish and relationships that drain. You begin to see that your time and energy are sacred and that your peace is non-negotiable. You no longer chase people who cannot love you properly because your life has become too full, too rich, too sacred to settle for less than what you deserve. Freedom is also about choosing yourself every single day. It's choosing to honor your emotions, to prioritize your well-being, to protect your heart, even when it feels lonely. And let me tell you something. This choice is the boldest form of courage there is. Because walking away from toxicity doesn't just mean leaving a person. It means leaving behind the identity you were forced to carry, the doubts you were trained to believe, and the shame that was never yours to hold. And eventually, when you've lived long enough in that freedom, you start to notice a profound truth. You don't need anyone else to feel complete. You don't need someone to fix. You don't need someone to define your happiness. You become whole in yourself, and that wholeness radiates into every aspect of your life. So cherish this freedom. Protect it. Fall in love with it every single day. Because this freedom, this liberation of your mind, your heart, your soul, is the greatest gift you can give yourself after leaving a toxic relationship. It's a gift that no one can take away, a gift that grows stronger with every act of self-love, every boundary you uphold, every moment you choose peace over pain. And one day, when you look back at that toxic chapter, you won't just see survival. You'll see triumph. You'll see courage. You'll see a person who not only walked away from pain, but stepped into a life of radical freedom. A life filled with possibility, hope, and love, first and foremost, for themselves. Because that, my friends, is what real healing looks like. That is what freedom truly feels like. And it is worth every tear, every doubt, and every step of the journey. So if you've walked away from something that was breaking you, please don't rush to fill the silence. Sit in it, let it teach you. Because the silence after a toxic relationship isn't emptiness, it's space. Space for you to grow, to breathe, to become the woman you were before they made you question your magic. And one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive that relationship. You rebuilt yourself from the pieces it left behind. And that, my friend, is what real freedom feels like. You know, there are few things in life more painful than realizing you loved someone who was slowly breaking you. And yet, you stayed. You stayed because you hoped. You stayed because you believed love could fix what pain had already shattered. And then one day, you finally walked away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. That's the quiet moment when healing begins, and when freedom, real freedom, starts whispering your name. You know, one of the hardest things about healing after a toxic relationship is that no one really prepares you for what it feels like. People might say, you should be happy you're finally free. But freedom after emotional captivity doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like standing in the middle of a quiet room, not recognizing the sound of your own breathing. Because here's the truth. When we leave someone who hurt us deeply, we don't just walk away from them. We walk away from a version of ourselves that believed love could save them. We walk away from the dream, the fantasy, the potential we kept holding on to. And that's a loss. A deep one. It's strange, isn't it? How you can grieve someone who caused you pain. But grief isn't logical. It's emotional truth. It's your heart acknowledging, even though this was toxic, it mattered to me. You might replay the good moments, the laughter, the apologies, the promises, and you'll wonder if any of it was ever real. You'll wrestle with the confusion of missing a person who broke you. And that confusion alone can feel unbearable. But grief, as brutal as it feels, is not your enemy. It's the first sign that your soul is finally releasing something it's carried for too long. Every tear you cry, every sleepless night, every moment when you whisper, "Why wasn't I enough?" It's your system detoxing from emotional manipulation, from the constant state of survival you were living in. And that's what makes this stage of healing so sacred. It's not about moving on quickly. It's about sitting in the wreckage long enough to understand what actually broke. Because if you rush through the grief, you'll find yourself recreating the same story with a different face. Healing means slowing down enough to listen to your anger, to your sadness, to your exhaustion. Let yourself mourn. Mourn the love you gave that wasn't returned. Mourn the time you lost. Mourn the version of you that kept trying to prove your worth. And please, mourn without shame. Because your grief isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you loved deeply, that you invested fully, and that you cared enough to hope. But now, hope looks different. It's no longer about fixing someone else. It's about reclaiming your own heart. And I want you to hear this. There is nothing wrong with you. for grieving someone who wasn't good for you. There's nothing wrong with still feeling the ache. That ache is the sound of healing. It's your body, your mind, your spirit remembering what peace is supposed to feel like. It takes time. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll fall apart. But even when you're falling apart, you're still healing because you're facing the truth instead of running from it. So be gentle with yourself in the in-between. You're not going backward. You're just grieving the pieces of your past that can't come with you. And that's the quiet courage that starts the real journey toward freedom. After you've grieved, there's another layer that demands your attention, your sense of worth. Because when you've been in a toxic relationship, one of the most insidious things it does is make you question yourself. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it chips away at your belief in who you are. You start wondering if maybe you really were too much, too loud, too sensitive, too emotional. Or maybe you weren't enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not worthy enough of love. And the truth is, none of that is real. None of it reflects your true self. The toxicity in that relationship was never about you being inadequate. It was about someone else's inability to see and value your light. And yet, for months, maybe years, you carried the weight of their judgment. You apologized for things that weren't yours to apologize for. You made excuses for their behavior. You changed pieces of yourself to try to earn affection, approval, or validation that you were never going to get. Healing begins the moment you start to dismantle that narrative. It starts when you remember that your worth is not negotiable. Your worth was never dependent on someone else's ability to love you correctly. You were not broken. You were not too sensitive. You were not too demanding. You were simply human, and being human means you deserve respect, care, and love that doesn't hurt you. Rebuilding your sense of self isn't something that happens overnight. It's in the small, quiet acts of reclaiming who you are. It's in looking in the mirror and saying, even if your voice shakes, I am enough. It's in choosing your own needs without guilt, in saying no to people who drain your energy, and in giving yourself permission to pursue joy, even when the world tells you to shrink. And here's the beautiful part. The more you practice self-worth, the more you begin to see the lies that were fed to you. You start recognizing the difference between love that builds you up and love that diminishes you. You begin to attract people and opportunities that reflect the value you finally allow yourself to claim. Reclaiming your worth is not about arrogance. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about remembering who you were before you were taught to doubt yourself. It's about standing in your own power and saying, I will not settle for less than the love I deserve from myself or from anyone else. So take your time. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate the small victories. When you choose yourself over approval, when you protect your peace, when you trust your instincts. Every step, every brave act of self-respect is rebuilding the foundation of a life that no toxic relationship can ever shake again. Your worth was never gone. It was just waiting for you to remember. And the moment you do, everything changes. And then there's the work of boundaries. And let me be honest with you, this is where so many of us get stuck. Because after a toxic relationship, we're often terrified of being too hard or unloving when we protect ourselves. We think that if we draw a line, we're punishing the other person, or worse, that we're being selfish. But here's the truth: boundaries are not about punishment. They are about preservation. They are about saying to yourself, I am worthy of safety, respect, and peace. When we are in a toxic relationship, our boundaries are often ignored, belittled, or outright attacked. And over time, we start to believe that maybe our boundaries are unreasonable. Maybe asking for kindness, honesty, or consistency is asking too much. Maybe we should just bend, compromise, or stay silent to keep the peace. That's the lie of toxicity, that your needs are less important than someone else's comfort. Healing requires breaking that lie. It requires remembering that your boundaries are sacred. They are the language of self-respect. They are the way your heart says, I will no longer tolerate being diminished. And setting those boundaries isn't easy. It feels awkward, uncomfortable, even scary at first, because you're confronting patterns you've accepted for too long. But every time you assert your limits, your courage grows. Every time you say, "No, I will not tolerate that," you reclaim a piece of yourself that was lost. Boundaries are also a form of love for yourself. They are a declaration that your emotional, mental, and spiritual space is valuable. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly or justify your choices to anyone who has repeatedly shown they cannot respect them. And over time, you'll notice something remarkable: the world starts to treat you differently. People respond to you with more respect, more consideration, more care. Not because you've changed them, but because you've changed your relationship with yourself. Boundaries also teach you about trust. The most important kind: trust in yourself. When you honor your own limits, you learn that you can rely on yourself. You can navigate relationships without losing your sense of who you are. You stop giving away your energy to people who are unwilling or incapable of treating it with care. And here's the most beautiful part: boundaries don't isolate you. They don't push love away. Instead, they create space for the right people, the right experiences, and the right kind of love to enter your life. They protect your heart while inviting authenticity, connection, and joy. So as you heal, practice drawing those lines, softly at first, but firmly. Protect your time, your energy, your emotions. Speak your truth without fear of judgment. And trust that the more consistently you honor your boundaries, the stronger, freer, and more whole you will feel. Because boundaries aren't walls. They are the foundation of a life where love and peace are possible again.